opportunity and experience for me since I'm a huge Deep Purple fan since 1983 or something. So.
Oh, well, you've lost a lot of weight.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm excited.
I can't imagine what you're going to ask.
Yeah, it's a big surprise for you.
I prefer it that way. I don't like having a set question. So like.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you already know how this goes forward. So I have prepared some questions, and then we have some other questions from other fans.
Okay.
But of course, my questions are most important. But anyway, let's start then. I have only few papers, so it doesn't take that long. So I'm interested in Deep Purple studio working. I have understood that in the 70s you recorded everything together as a live takes. Did you then re-record it with individual instruments, or was everything really recorded at once? Nowadays you obviously record, for example, the bass again separately, if necessary. And then lasting, when did the click track came along? I guess there were several questions, but
good question. Yes. Well, I'll tackle that. We record pretty much the same way that we did in the 70s. We all together in the same room.
Okay.
And we do that because there's a feeling between us when we play that you can't get when you're doing it individually.
Yeah.
And we like to see each other. We like to see each other's, you kind of, the nuances of your playing change depending on what someone else plays. So if you do it alone, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when digital technology came along and replacing tape, the old way of editing tape was quite laborious with, scissors and razor blades and bits of sticky tape. And it was a kind of, you got kind of good at it. But digital technology meant that you could do it instantly, just to pressing a button.
Yeah.
Editing in digital thing is so much easier that people want to do that, and that's why click has come into it, because with a click, everyone's exactly in the same place, so that the editing is just absolutely spot on. Oh, sorry about that. My phone going off.
Oh, okay.
And that's about the answer. I mean, click is a whole different thing. I prefer to work without a click, but it's a lot more difficult. I think Ian Pace plays better without a click.
Yeah, I have understood that.
But to his credit, he's learned to really kind of adapt to the situation and still retain a sense of that freedom, even though there's a click.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
The first click I worked to was with Mickey Most when I was in the Cozy Pals band. Yeah. And we had Mickey Most had a Hammond drum machine, the first drum machine. So he said to Cozy, what if we play to this, see how you do? And Cozy was very unwilling to try it, but he loved it. I mean, his playing just flourished with a click. It was amazing to hear him. And the second time I saw one of these machines was working with Roger on Down to Earth. Do you remember, Rog?
I do remember, yes. He used to have one, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got one somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
Horrible little sounds, but still effective,
Okay, but you anyway you used click track already on 70s.
It was coming in.
Click track in the 70s now.
No.
Oh.
It was very live.
Okay. All right, interesting. Then next one. How much do you have ideas and even ready songs available when you go to the studio? And how much do you do pre-recording or rehearsing of the songs? How many takes is needed? You have told that many ideas come when you just play something together. But for example, do guitar riffs already exist when you start to prepare an album?
Don, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. It's funny, I got a text once from someone saying he'd seen a film of the take of Time for Bedlam. Somebody put a film on the net. I don't know how he got on. He said, that's brilliant. You should have used that. It was the take where Bob goes, let's make a rock and roll album. And it was the first take of the album. And this guy said to me, you know, you should have used that one on the album. I said, we did. I said, we only played it once. Do you remember that, Rog?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Bob just went, that's it, we don't have to do it again. And you kind of don't believe it, but we are very prepared when we go in, surprisingly.
Maybe you are.
Well, I tend to write things out and have things in my head that if they're going to change. But well, I mean, we rehearse for 2 weeks before we go in. And it's, as Pacey said, that for him, the recording process has become something quite enjoyable. Whereas over the last, previously, he just hated it, you know. He found it so artificial and burdensome. And, you know, you get to the end of 7 days with Bob Ezra and you got 15 tracks in the can and you go, God, how do we do that? And go out to eat.
Okay. Well, to me, when we start an album, we're not particularly prepared because something happens when we get together, when we play together, that you can't possibly think ahead and design. If you go to a writing session with a finished song, no one's going to play it. Yeah. You go with maybe a riff or a chord sequence or even a tempo, and just see what happens. And that first writing session is when we sort of discover things. Then we have another writing session where we throw out all the stuff that's not very promising and concentrate on that a little bit and try and get an arrangement into shape. And it's not really until we have about a week with Bob Ezra prior to the recording where he just pulls apart everything that we've done and rearranges it all. And so by the time we get to the studio, we kind of more or less know what it is, but there's still changes to be made. There's still spontaneity in the studio. So, and to me, it's always a surprise when you start off an album with nothing, and you end up with something that you couldn't have expected. It's like a period of discovery, the same as like a fan listening to it for the first time.
Yeah, great. And how many takes you usually need? 1, 2.
Up to 40 or 50. But
oh, okay.
No, actually, I mean, Machine Head, for example, was done very, very quickly. So there's no more than 1 or 2 takes.
Okay.
It's the same now. If you go on, it becomes kind of wooden. The first few takes are the best.
Do you remember in Rainbow, Roger, Spotlight Kid, 34 takes?
Wow.
They ran out of tape in Copenhagen.
What was the reason for that?
I can't tell you, but
okay.
It wasn't me and it wasn't Rog.
Okay.
Suspect playing.
Okay. All right. Then next one. Do you have any favorite story from any Deep Purple recording sessions or funny happening or something like that?
Oh, don't you love these questions, Don?
Yes.
Funny story in recording. Oh, the only thing that comes to mind immediately is years ago when we were doing Fireball, we used a studio that was very dead. And in those days, studios were designed to be dead. They didn't want sound bouncing off walls or anything like that. They wanted the pure sound, which is probably good for folk music, but for rock, it's not that stimulating. And Pacey one day had changed his snare head, and he was walking around just tapping the snare head, making sure it was tuned up and stuff. As he walked into the studio, he walked through a corridor, and the sound in the corridor was great. That had a real, crack to it. He went in the studio, and that crack turned into a dub, dub. And so he said, "Oh, sod that! I'm going to set my drums up in the corridor." Okay. And he did. And it was very difficult to get past him because it wasn't a big corridor, it was just, it kind of worked. And so we decided to take that one stage further. And that's why we started doing Machine Head in a live situation. Yeah. We wanted to capture that live sound. It's not funny, but it's, there it is.
Okay, thanks for that. Anyway. What about you, Don?
Oh, funny story. Oh, heavens. I had one when I first was working with Cozy Powell's band. Mickey Mouse was the producer. He was absolutely brilliant. And he called me in. He was very interested in synthesizers and getting me to do things. And he wanted a kind of wooden percussive sound. And we couldn't quite get it. He said, I know what. He sent me down a local hardware shop to buy 2 bits of wood and a hinge and a drill and some screws. And with handles. So he said, you see what I want you to do? Put it on a hinge and then we'll get the sound, right? So it took me about an hour to make this thing. I'm not much of a carpenter, but eventually I cobbled it together, got the handles on these bits of wood, and it made an amazing sound. So Maggie said, "Are you ready then?" I said, "Yeah, here we go." So here comes the track. And I went, jump, jump. And they stopped and they said, "No, it ain't working." Then I heard them all collapse up in the control room. And I went, "Oh shit, I've been had."
All right. You got it, by the way.
Sorry?
I wonder if Don still got it.
Ah.
But no, I lost it years ago.
Okay.
Well, we can use it next week, yeah. Oh.
Oh. Can you tell me more about that next week? What's happening next week?
I'll tell you what, there's one, all this COVID situation has meant that we can't tour.
Yeah.
Well, we're twiddling our thumbs, really, for over a year. And the idea was to possibly go back in and do another album. And so we're just working towards that. It's so quick after we've done the last album that maybe that will spoil things. But we're gonna try and do another album at some point next year.
Okay, good to hear.
We're experimenting with stuff.
Okay, and maybe some touring after that.
Well, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you never know.
We live in hope.
Yeah, good.
It's been great to find out what married life's like. Well, not so great, actually. Not for my wife.
All right. Then you, Roger and Steve, you do some backing vocals on some gigs. But what about in the studio? Have you ever done singing backing vocals in the studio?
The last time I did backing vocals in a studio was on Woman from Tokyo. John Lord and I did the coda at the end when it's fading out. In a room going, "My woman from Tokyo." That's about the last time I did it. And that was 1870 something. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't know anything about that. So, all right. But maybe. So you are still going to continue singing on live gigs?
I wouldn't call it singing.
Okay.
They used to give me a mic. I used to have a mic to join in several things when I was first in the band. And my son came on the road with me as my keyboard tech after being about 5 years in the band. And after one gig, the first thing he did was, he said, "You can have the mic, but I'm not connecting it." He pulled the plug out. So I was miming, and then he said, "I think we finished with this mic, don't you?" And he confiscated it, and I've never seen it since. So, quite right.
Okay. All right, then next one. Which song from Whoosh are you looking forward to play on live? What is your favorite?
Ooh. It's hard to tell, really, because before a tour and when there's a new album, we usually spend a day just playing all the songs and just seeing how they feel. Some work live and some are better left on a record. I would imagine Nothing at All is something I'd like to try. And Throw My Bones.
Good song.
Yeah, I like Power of the Moon and Throw My Bones, yeah. Yeah, and of course, Nothing at All is pretty damn fine track, actually.
Yeah, it's great tracks.
Thanks.
All right. And then when after this COVID situation, when you are able to do touring again, do you have any favorite country or venue where do you like to play?
Oh, Finland, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know you were into politics.
Yeah, good answer.
Actually, my favorite place to play is a full crowd.
Oh,
We're going to get that in next year, but a lot of people will stay away because they're scared or they're broke. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm not sure that's going to happen next year.
okay.
It's very odd playing with lack of people. That's what you're there for, is the people. So it's going to be very odd.
Do you really have to worry about that?
Yeah, the atmosphere is crucial. But audiences don't seem to realize how big a part they play in a good gig.
Okay.
It's the two of us come together and celebrate the moment, and it's magic for us and it's magic for them. On a good night.
Okay. Then now we are already talking about touring. So tell us a bit about your typical day on tour. How do you spend your leisure time, and do you do sound checks every evening and so on?
Travel.
Just traveling.
On a bus, sitting on a plane, sitting in a waiting room. Sound checks these days, the crew can do probably better sound check than us. By the time we get to a hotel, it's mid of the afternoon. To go to the gig, which might be an hour away, and then come back and do all this business. Don goes early, I know. Yeah. He disappears. But as a band, generally we don't do sound checks every gig, no. Okay. When they're needed, we do them, that's all.
No, I know I sound check every gig. I don't really have a choice.
No.
With so much that could go wrong. And of course it always works, but every so often some problem comes up that you think, if that happened on a gig, I wouldn't know what to do. But the best one was suddenly all the keyboards, the whole lot, transposed up a tone in soundcheck. And I had no idea. It was so, I drive about 7 different keyboards with one keyboard. So they'd all gone a tone up. And I thought, what's this? It was mystifying. We found out what caused it. It was something in the MIDI. But if it had happened on the gig, oh my God.
Chaos, train wreck.
Playing the surprising in a different key, I think, would have been beyond me.
Yeah. So how often this type of things happens?
Well, rarely. I think in my time with Purple, the Hammond's broken down twice. I haven't been able to use it. Okay. Once in Japan, it was 10 minutes before a gig, and Mike, my son, came into the dressing room, and I thought, God, this doesn't look good. He had a terrible look on his face. I said, what's up, Mike? He said, the Hammond's gone. So what do you mean gone? He said, it just won't work. We can't fix it. And we had a full house in Nagoya. And so I had to go. And the band's going, what are we going to do? I said, well, we'll have to go on. We didn't have much of a choice. So I did a Deep Purple gig without the Hammond.
Oh.
And nobody noticed,
We did.
Well, the band did, yeah. I mean, it meant there was a great bit. When I was doing my solos, which are on the Moog, which are on the side, it meant Steve came round, because he kind of joins in sometimes, and stood on the drum riser, throwing these shapes, which I'd never seen him. I thought it looked amazing. I thought, well, maybe we don't need the Hammond anymore. We're looking like a real modern rock band now.
Hopefully not. All right. And are you guys still nervous when you're going on stage?
Oh, no.
Me, I don't get nervous. Maybe slightly apprehensive, but not nervous. And I never have, strangely enough. I've got a guitar to hide behind. If I was the lead singer up front, or maybe doing a speech, that's nervous for me.
Okay.
But no, I mean, everything's very calm before we go on. I mean, an hour or so, it's all very calm in the dressing room. We're talking about this and that and the other, and it's not a sense of excitement until you actually walk on the stage and step on and the lights come on and you start. That's when everything kicks in. if we started worrying about it before that, I think we'd be just exhausted before we even got on the stage.
Yeah.
It looks
have I vanished? Have I vanished?
Yes, you have. Well, your name.
Oh, I'm back. Yeah.
There you are.
Oh, no, I get nervous. Yeah.
Oh.
Every
Is it,
time.
because you are the new guy in the band, or?
But I think every night, how am I going to get through this? You know,
Okay.
I mean, it's close to a 2-hour show, and you know, most bands I've been in, the keyboards, you think, in 4 numbers time, I've got a bit to do, but with Purple, it's every number. Oh shit! There's that bit and this bit, so it's quite nerve-wracking.
And you don't get much of a break either.
No. Yeah. It's pretty continuous. Making all that noise. Oh, look what it's done to me.
All right. Do we still have time? Yes, we have. Do you have a lot of footage at home which has not been released yet?
Oh, good. I've got some. I've got rehearsal tapes and stuff that are not in such a great condition to be released.
Okay.
I don't. We don't record that much extra than we need. Yes, there's a few bits and pieces. There's maybe 3 or 4 unfinished songs hanging around. But we've been too busy to even think about that. We're always moving forward. We don't look back that much. So and videos. I mean, most of it's bootleg stuff. People send me stuff. It's not that I collect it. Movies and stuff from the past.
I found a whole load of footage the other day, which is me taking film from the front of the van, of where we're going, hours of it. And I think my plan was to put it all to music, like a dream sequence, but I never got around to it. And it was quite boring because it's on down the road. And I suppose in a way that's what traveling is all about. I remember David Coverdale said to me once, he said, "No, I don't mind touring." He said, "It's just the traveling in between gigs gets to me."
Well, I like what Count Basie said. He said, "I'll play for free. I get paid to travel."
Okay. All right, then next question. Did you, Roger and Don, know each other before you played in the Rainbow at the same time? And further, how well did you know members of the other bands, like in Sabbath or Zeppelin? Did you often play at the same gigs or festivals?
Yeah, you meet people on festivals, but you don't really ever get to know them apart from say hello. And, people are either going on stage or they just got off stage. But I knew Sabbath. I met them with when I was with Cozy's band. We met in the car park in Burnley. And had a long conflict. That's where I met Ozzy. I didn't know, the only person I knew in Rainbow was Cozy. I didn't know anybody else. And it was, I met Roger. Roger came in eventually to the rehearsals as our producer. And I remember thinking, oh, he's nothing like I expected.
Tell me more. What did you expect?
I don't know. I think I expected a man in a top hat and a cane. And
that was my previous image, yeah.
What about you, Roger? Did you know these other guys from other bands?
Yeah, very few to start with, because when you're in the early days in the 70s, you're in kind of a bubble, and your bubble's moving forward and doing gigs, and they've got their own bubble. So you very rarely meet, and if you do, it's very perfunctory. But over the years, yes, you get to meet people at different places, award ceremonies and stuff like that, So I remember going on holiday. I didn't go on holiday with Robert Plant, but we met him in Ireland and spent a few days together, and that was lovely. don't know that many people, although as I think about it, I probably do. There's probably a list of people that I know, but I can't think of any offhand right now. I just thought I'd put in Robert Plant because he's a big name. I haven't seen him since, by the way.
Okay. I got the note that now it's time for the last question. So do you ever read the comments on fun sites like highwestar.com or other websites or forums?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've learned the hard way not to take them to heart, because I think it's important that fans can be honest and truthful about what they think. And if they don't like something, I don't take it personally. It's just their opinion. It's, or as Richie said to me once, it's an opinion. It's wrong, but it's an opinion. You know?
No, I don't go on the website so much, but I went on one the other day. Somebody's done an Instagram site for me, and they put that my thank you song to the Russian fans up. And I was just it said, 500 comments. I thought, oh, what's this? And pressed the button, and suddenly all these lovely things appeared, except one that said, oh, it's just an old fart playing the piano. And the comment after from my son Mike going, well, you stand up when we come to Russia, you come up, bud, and make yourself known, and we'll put you on before the band for 10 minutes. See how you do. Oh, great. Yeah. Old fart playing the piano. How true. Yeah.
All right. I think that was the last one. And
well, I wish some journalists were as good as you, mate, I tell you.
Okay, thanks. So if you are coming to Finland on your next tour, I can offer you a beer if you arrange me a backstage pass.
Got you drive a hard bargain.
Well, it's been a very good, very interesting experience. We've never done this before, so it's
yeah.
Quite well done. You did well.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was my first time as well, so you did really well as well.
Good. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.